wrapping things up.
Great. All right. Whenever you're ready, I'll go ahead and I'll begin.
You're good to go.
CJ, you said in your opening that interesting to see Catholics get around the idea of the universality of death for those under original sin. What about Enoch and Elijah? They had original sin, yet they didn't die, or did they die?
No, I would say they didn't die if we take a plain reading of Scripture, but I would also say that they are exceptions, hence why they're noted.
Sure. So it's not universal then, because you said in your opening you'd love to see how we get around the universality of this, yet there are exceptions. You admitted. Not everybody, because the Bible literally says that they are of the spermatos, the sperma, the seed of Adam, have original sin, yet clearly they didn't die. You would admit that that's the plain reading of Scripture.
Oh, certainly. And let me quickly clarify. When I said interesting to see Catholics get around this, it was more a quip at the fact that I find it entertaining to watch Catholics debate whether or not Mary died. Okay. So that was really more what I was.
You do admit that there are exceptions then to that rule.
Certainly, I could say there's exceptions to people literally dying. Absolutely.
Okay. So, by the way, you spoke about your channel earlier. I've become a fan of that channel. I recommend people go and they subscribe. There's a video you did in your channel. Yeah, not a problem. There's a video you did in your channel where you say that Catholics, I won't say everything you said, but you say that part of our teaching on the Immaculate Conception is that we believe Mary was immaculately born of a virgin. I'd like to ask you, where's the church ever taught such a thing?
So that was, I am glad you brought that up, because that is a correction that I've had to make. That was due to a misunderstanding of the Proto-Evangelium of James I had that has since been corrected, albeit not actually in video format quite yet. So that is a completely rescinded topic.
Okay, you misunderstood what the Proto-Evangelium actually says, because I did bring that up in my opening as a patristic proof. You misunderstood what it says, or you pretty much just misunderstood in general. Are you under the persuasion that the Proto-Evangelium, which is a second century document, are you under the impression that it teaches the virgin birth of Mary?
No, that was I was at the time that was a misreading on my part. So
okay,
I can recheck that.
You did a whole show on the Proto-Evangelium, and I'm bringing it up because this is a pivotal text that Elijah and myself will be bringing up. 16 minutes into your presentation, and from here on forth, I will refer to it as the Proto, because the Proto-Evangelium we're referring to, at least we are, it's Genesis 3:15. The Proto in scholarship is the Proto-Evangelium of James. In your presentation, you claim that Origen and St. Clement of Alexandria called this heterodox, and they condemned this work. Can you show us where they did this?
Well, I don't know if that's because obviously I do know where that, or at least I could find where that is, because I actually referenced it during the video, but it's not something I'll have in my notes this moment because I don't think it's actually germane to the topic.
So let me be very clear.
If we were to debate the Proto-Evangelium, I, of course, could collect those notes again.
Well, let me just be very clear. The title of the debate is Biblical and Ancient. And the most ancient proof for us would be hearkening to the Proto-Evangelium. So I do think it is relevant, and I do want to, just for clarification purposes, no, you don't ever reference it. I watched your whole video multiple times. You never reference where Origen does that or St. Clement of Alexandria. So let me ask you this. Let me turn this into a question for you. Are you aware that not only Origen, but St. Clement of Alexandria, not only did they not ever condemn this work as heterodox, but they utilized it in a positive sense multiple times?
Well, I don't necessarily think it matters, because the question that is before us right now is whether or not the Immaculate Conception, obviously, if it's ancient, then that would be a good demonstration for it, except that it's not actually mentioned in the Proto-Evangelium anywhere. And then the second question is scriptural, and if they say that it does demonstrate in some sense that it's scriptural, well, it's not scripture, even according to your standard with an extended canon, by my perception. Right. So I don't think that would even be relevant.
My friend, it's not in the canon, so extended canon has nothing to do with it. We don't have it.
That's my point, though, if I may.
But my question was specific. My question, whether or not you think it is relevant or not, I'm about to get to where I do think that it does teach that. Even if you don't think it's relevant, my question is very specific. Are you aware, and you can simply say no if you're not aware, that Origen and Clement of Alexandria not only utilized the Proto, but they utilized it in the positive sense?
I don't think that's a relevant.
So it's simple yes or no answer. Whether you think it's irrelevant or not, it's an important document for us to use. Are you aware of that? Simple yes or no.
I am aware of it with Clement. I've not heard anything about Origen.
So you're aware of it with Clement utilizing it in the positive sense, yet in your video you claim that he condemned it. How does that work?
Well, but again, I'd have to go back to the sources that I had actually referenced there, and will certainly be willing to do that. However, it is important to note that a lot of these guys quote various different sources, sometimes in
wasn't the question though,
sometimes in negative senses, and it's also not relevant to the actual.
That wasn't my question, my friend. It's relevant because we believe that it teaches the Immaculate Conception. So then let me ask you this: you claim that it doesn't. In the Proto-Evangelium, where it's talking about the Lord has given the fruit of his righteousness, the fruit of justice, singular in its kind, and richly endowed before him. How would you understand and interpret that in the Proto-Evangelium?
Well, I believe that every Christian is given in some sense. Well, first, there's two ways. Number one, the fruit of his righteousness, I think, is actually a reference to, if you read the Proto-Evangelium in its context, it's obviously talking about how righteous people have posterity. They have seed, right? And yet none of the people, Anna, and I can't remember the guy, it's Joachim, I think, they do not have seed, right? And so when he's saying, oh, I'm the only righteous person who doesn't have any seed, and then it's saying the fruit of righteousness was given to you, it seems to me like logically what that's saying is seed in and of itself is the fruit of righteousness, because he's the only righteous person who hasn't had seed.
Where on earth is
Joachim? He ends up being blessed with.
Where's Joachim called? Where is Joachim ever called righteous? Where is he ever called? Where is that Greek word utilized for Mary, utilized for Joseph? For Joachim in the Prot?
I don't think it necessarily needs to be, because again, the beginning of the passage, right, is there's this interlocutor who's asking Joachim, right, all the righteous have borne seed except for you, right? And Joachim goes back and he checks and he says, oh, wow, that is true. I'm the only righteous who has not actually borne any seed. And then later on, we find out that they eventually do have this child, Mary, right? And so I think logically, we can make the connection between the righteousness and the seed there, that Joachim is clearly taking this as, okay, this must be evidence that I'm not righteous or something of the sort, right? But beyond that, that's...
So Joachim is, let me just be certain, Joachim is never called righteous, ever. That particular Greek word used for the fruit is hearkening to the biblical text in Luke 1, the fruit of the womb, and it's used for Mary as the fruit of dikaiosune, the fruit of righteousness. Now, whether you agree with the document or not, you claim it's heterodox, you certainly understand why a Catholic would utilize that for the Immaculate Conception if she's literally called the fruit of justice there. By the way, all those that are righteous beforehand, we agree, they're justified. That's the precise point there. She's actually the fruit of righteousness, of justification, as in the womb. Those others are righteous as grown individuals. Rather, she's justified in the womb. How does that not fit our very description of the Immaculate Conception?
No, I think you're misunderstanding.
And CJ, before you respond, sorry, you got exactly 2 minutes left, gentlemen.
Huh?
I think you're misunderstanding the thing that I'm actually affirming, right? I'm not talking about the justification or anything like that. I'm talking about in the context of the Proto-Evangelium. There is a question presented to Joachim about all the righteous have borne seed except for you. Now, you just said yourself, right, that the fruit is very often used, and seed as well is very often used as a way to describe one's descendants, right? And he goes back and he checks and he figures out, yes, I am the only one who is righteous, who is not.
CJ,
so the fruit of righteousness in that instance. Sorry,
you're missing the whole point, buddy, because he then follows it up by talking about patriarchs. We agree. Abraham walked in righteousness. He was just before God. There's a massive difference in righteousness used there than used for Mary before she even is born. She's justified in the womb. There's a humongous difference there. How on earth does this help your position if righteousness is used here for people that are justified, patriarchs, yet Mary's justified in the womb? How on earth does the Proto-Evangelium not teach the Immaculate Conception? Which, by the way, in your video, you affirm it does teach the Immaculate Conception. Now, while you're under fire in cross-examination, you say it doesn't teach the Immaculate Conception.
Because I just don't think that I think that with you're understanding the righteousness as meaning.
Well, prove me wrong.
Say again.
Prove me wrong. She's called the fruit of righteousness in the womb.
Right, but that's
others are righteous as adults. Prove me wrong.
Right, but you're misunderstanding what I'm saying, my friend. I'm not saying that. I don't know. I'm gonna try to put this in a clearer way because clearly I'm not communicating it properly.
I think the issue is
fruit of righteousness is children. That's the point. Joachim is asked in the beginning of the Proto-Evangelium,
Wait,
all
hold
the
on.
righteous have seed.
Whoa, hold
but
on.
He does not, right?
All
the
the
fruit
righteous-
of righteousness in this instance is seed.
CJ, all the righteous have raised up seed? You're telling me that seed, that children in the womb have raised up other seed? How's that possible,
No,
CJ?
she's not the one being called righteous. She's the fruit of righteousness.
It's
Joachim's fruit.
It's Hannah uttering those words. What are you talking about? It's the fruit of righteousness in her womb. How on earth is that?
Right, because all the righteous have borne seed except for them. So now they are getting that fruit of righteousness. It's very clear in the context of the text.
CJ, it's St. Anne, not Joachim. And in the previous verse, there are adults. There are grown people that are righteous. Do you understand? I think you're misunderstanding. Early in the text,
the thing is,
let me just get this out. Early in the text, my friend, early in the text, all the righteous had raised up seed. And then he calls to mind Abraham, Isaac. He's talking about people that are justified, they're righteous. And then Mary's called the fruit of righteousness in the womb of St. Anne. The parallel is very clear. If they're justified walking with God, she's justified in the womb, which, by the way, in your video, you agree with that. And now on cross-examination, you don't agree with that. Make it make sense for me, a friend.
CJ, feel free. I just want to jump in. Feel free to. Oh no, that's okay. I appreciate the fast-paced nature of it. CJ, feel free to answer that, and then we're going to jump into Elijah's constructive presentation. Go ahead, CJ.
Absolutely. I think you're misunderstanding the text itself as far as what is being called righteous and why this utilization is being used, right? So just to give an example, we see like, by their fruit ye shall know them, right? Fruit is referenced in scripture to something you shall produce, okay?
Yeah.
So early in the Proto-Evangelium of James, it is said to Joachim, all the righteous have produced seed, but it's said that he has not produced seed. He goes back, he verifies, he figures out this is true, right? So in that context, the fruit, the thing which you produce of righteousness is children. It's seed itself. Mary then can be called the fruit of righteousness because, like the rest of the righteous, they are now producing seed.
CJ,
that's why they are blessed with a child in the first place. She is the fruit of righteousness, what they produce.
I think we should probably cut it off there.
It's quoting the Gospel of Luke. It's making a parallel with Christ and Mary. I completely disagree with you, but that's my cross-examination. I'll end my cross-examination with that.